Hey, it's Rich, the Louisiana Hobby Guy. Today we're going to be talking about creating professional logos in Lightburn. And we're going to be talking about fills, relief fills, and a few other things. And we're going to be doing them on both the CO2 and the diode laser. So don't go anywhere. Stay right there. You're going to like this episode. Alright, so a lot of people are out there showing you how to do things in Lightburn that just take way too long to do. Especially like logos and node editing and vectors and rasters, and they mean well. They really do. But they have all these different workarounds to get the job done. And today I want to show you how to get the job done fast, easy, and professionally so that you get exactly what your client is looking for. And if you're doing this, even as a hobby, you're going to have friends and family that are going to ask you to do, specific jobs for them. And some of them might own businesses. And they might have a logo that is, a raster that you just can't use. Not everybody has print-ready logos. So today we're going to learn all about that. So let's jump over into Lightburn and let's get started. We're going to get started with the CO2 version, and then later on in the video we're going to jump over and do the diode version, which is going to be the exact same file. So I think you're going to enjoy today's video. Let's jump into Lightburn. Alright, so today I'm going to create a custom badge for my Monport laser. And one thing that the K40s, they just don't come with custom badges, and I want to have a badge. So we're going to take some 3mm black acrylic and we're going to make some custom badges. And so the first thing I did was I went over onto Google and I intentionally searched out a bad image. And let me paste it in here. And here it is. So this is the Monport logo. And like I said, I intentionally got a bad image. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to trace this image. This is a raster. We need to make this into a vector in order for it to work properly on the laser because it's so pixelated. If I roll my mouse wheel and we zoom way in, you can see all of the pixelation that's going on here on the end lines. And it's not going to trace properly. So we're not going to trace this one. What we're going to do is we're going to create a new graphic from scratch. And let me get this to about the right size where I can work with it well. And that looks pretty good right there. So what we're going to do is we're going to take our line tool over here on the top left side, and we're going to click on that. And we're going to start drawing lines. And I'm going to roll my mouse wheel in and out as I do this, and press down on it and pull it to move it around. So first thing I want to do is decide where I want to draw the line. And I think I want to look at, probably very close to the edge here, like somewhere like right here. And I'm going to pull this down, and if I hold down Control, it will draw, Shift, it will draw a perfectly straight line like that. I'm going to go about halfway into the fuzz here, the cloud, and I'm going to click right there. Now I'm going to hold down my center mouse wheel, and I'm just going to move this around till I get to the next point. And then I'm going to hold Shift to constrain it, and I'm going to click right about in the middle again. So right there. Now I'm going to press down again on my mouse wheel. I'm going to come up here to, I guess, right about there. I'm going to click right there. I'm going to come down here, click right there. I'm going to drag this over a little more. I'm going to click right there, drag this up, click here. I'm going to click here, move this down there and come all the way back up to here, right about here. And now I'm not in the right spot, but that's okay. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to join these, and I'm going to show you how we'll fix this later on. So I'm going to zoom in here, and I'm going to make my last click right on there where it turned into a bullseye. And then I right click to get rid of that tool. Okay, so now I'm going to come up here on the top left, grab the selector tool, or you can press escape on your keyboard. I'm going to drag this off, and there's the first part of our logo. And that looks pretty close right there. So now we need to get this bottom part over here. So I'm going to bring this back over only for alignment purposes. I'm going to bring it back where it was. And actually, if I just hit the undo button, it'll get us right back to where we were. Okay, so now we're back and we're ready to draw the next line. I'm going to grab the pencil tool again. I'm going to come to about the same plane right there. Click. Now I'll do my zoom in. I'll come down to about there, right about there, right about there, and then I will close. See how it turned to a bullseye? Watch my mouse pointer. Bullseye. And that's the last one. Now to get off the line, I'm going to right click. And now I'm off that line. Back to the selector tool. And now we have our M traced out. So now let's do the P. We're not going to do the word down here, so this is not going to take very long. And you know, it's good for you to watch this, because you can understand how these kind of things are done. So I'm going to come right up to about the middle, and I'm going to do the same thing now with the P. And we're going to come all the way around up to about, now see how it's moving in big jumps? Well, if I hold control, then I have complete control over it. I can move it very slowly like that. And I'll click there, and then I'll click, I'll hold control again so I can get it perfectly positioned. I'll click there. I will click right about there, and you see there's this little dip down over here. So we'll come down to about there, and then I'll hold control again to get good control over this. Click here, click here. I'll click about right about there. Come down here to, I guess there is good. Now I'm pushing down on my mouse wheel, and I'm going to click, I guess right about there. And there is good. And come way over to this side and wait for it to turn. There's the bullseye. Click one more time. Right click to get off of it. Okay, now guess what? We've got, oops, forgot to hit the selector tool or press escape. We've got our logo. So let's grab this whole thing and scoot it off a little bit like that and zoom out. And now the only thing we have left to do is a little bit of node editing, and we're going to do that just so that I can show you how it's done. But we have to add the name as well. Now I'm going to just grab my text tool here, and I already have this in Arial Black. So this letter R, this is not a common feature in text. So this is some sort of font that I don't know what it is. R's don't make that vertical drop like that. So we're just going to use Arial Black because that's about as close as you're going to get to this particular font. So we're going to do Montport like that. Oh, did I spell that wrong? P-O-R-T. Okay. I don't look at my keyboard, so I get that wrong. So now you see the side of the M lines up with this side, and the end of the T lines up with this point over here. So we have to resize this so that it fits there. So, but we don't want to make it overly big. So we're just going to pull this out a little bit like that, and only pull out the one side. Okay? And then I'm going to zoom all the way in, and I'm going to find where this ends. It ends right on that line. I'm going to follow this line all the way down, and you see that this almost reaches to that line. So we're just going to stretch it just a hair further so that it reaches. Then on this side it is perfect. So we're good. And all I did was skew it a little bit to make it look more like this font over here. So I just skewed it by pulling it from the middle, and then I sized it by pulling it from the corner handle in which direction I wanted it to go. I hope you're following me here. So now let's take a look at what that looks like. Let's put it into fill, and let's get rid of the image, and there we go. So now these are not filled over here, and you might be asking why. So these paths are not closed, and this is how we're going to go into the node edit now, and we're going to make sure all of the paths are closed in here. So we're going to come to node edit, and we're going to take a look and see what we got. And I don't think I need to do anything to this corner. I think that all looks good. Now you see this one is not closed, and that is the one that's giving us the trouble. So let me zoom way in, and this can be hard to do. So there we go. Now that path is closed, and now we've got that one done. Now we need to find out what other paths are not closed here. So if we zoom in here, let's take a look around. It's always going to be where we started, so let's take and grab this one and attach it right there. So now we've closed that path, and let's come over here to where we started and zoom way in, and you can see if I go way in that the path is not closed. You see that? So all we have to do is just drop it on there to close it, and then we've got what we want. So there is our Monport logo. And let me tell you, this is a problem that a lot of people have, is paths not being closed, especially on files that you're getting off of Etsy and these mass sales graphic stores. They're not going to be laser ready, even though you know, they're designed for other things. They're not designed for the laser. So we're designing this for the laser, and that's a really great design, I think. Only other thing I think I'd want to do to this, I think I want to add a frame. So we're going to come over here, and we're going to grab the polygon tool on the left toolbar, and we're going to draw out some kind of polygon. And I'm going to put that on a different layer, put it in line mode, select it, and let's see, how can we make this look better? So let's go to the shape properties on the right and add a side to it. Let's go 7 sides. No, 6 sides is good. 6 sides is good, just like that. Okay, so that's good. Let's stretch it out a little bit, move it over, and stretch it out a little more, and maybe a little more this way. And yeah, I think that might be what I'm looking for right there. So I think that looks pretty good, right about there. And what I'm doing is I'm looking at how far it is from the corner of each of these bottom ones here. That's why I'm pulling this in a little bit like that. So that looks good, almost. The next thing I want to do is I want to round all these corners to make it look like a logo. So down here on the bottom left, you're going to see the corner radius. I'm going to click on that to activate it. And then I'm going to, you see this turn to a bullseye right there? I'm going to click on that one. And I have it activated at 10. So 10 is a good number. I'm going to click there, all the way around. All right, and there we go. Now tell me that's not a good looking logo. I think that looks really nice, just the way it is. Now, here's another thing that people ask about. So we're going to talk a little bit about fills and relief fills, the two different things. A relief fill is where you take out the background and leave only the artwork. So the artwork protrudes above the background. A regular fill is where you just fill the actual artwork itself. So that's what we have here, is a regular fill. And I don't want it to just be a little line like that. So what we're going to do is we're going to offset this one. So let's offset this by clicking the offset over here on the left side. Let's do it outward. And I think that's probably a pretty good offset right there. So I'm going to say OK. So there we go. We have the offset. And now what I'm going to do is I want to fill this, but I can't, if I fill it, these two have to be grouped. I only want to fill around the outside. So I'm going to group those two. Now I'm going to put this into fill mode. Now you see I have a nice border all the way around. Now if I had this layer on the green, like the other one, it would still do the same thing. So we don't have to actually have that extra layer there. So let's go ahead and take this. Oh, I missed one there. We're going to undo that. We're going to select all of them. And what we're going to do now is press Control and D, and we've duplicated it. And I'm going to take and move one of these off to the side, like so. Now, what I want to do now is I don't want to fill the letters. I want to fill the background. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab, first off, let's put it back into line mode. It's always best to work from line mode so you can select things easier. I'm going to put it back in line mode. I'm going to take these guys and ungroup them. And then I'm going to grab this one and delete it. Now, if we put this back into fill mode here, you'll see what happened. Look at that. So now what we have are our two logos, one in fill and the other one in relief fill. And you may need to rewatch this a couple times or rewind it or whatever, but that's how you get the relief fill like this, where it doesn't touch the letters. The letters will stand proud in the work and the background will be removed. Over here, the letters will be engraved and the background will be left alone. So there are two. And actually what I think I'm going to do is put all this on the black like that. Yeah, that makes it look, we're using black acrylic, let's put it on the black layer. So there we go. Now, the next thing is we have to do a cutout. So let's go back into line mode again, and we always want to work from line mode. And what we're going to do for the cut layer, we're going to grab this, ungroup it, and we're going to grab just the outside line, come down here to the bottom, put it on a different layer. We're going to put it on the red layer, which is also in line mode, okay? And that will be our cutout on that one. But we still want, if we come over here to fill, you see what just happened? We still have to have the inside line. So let's zoom back in again. Let's grab this one. Let's do the offset. And let's do the offset inward like that. And just bring it down to 1 instead of 1.3 and say OK. Now we have to regroup these. Remember when we did this earlier? And we don't want that red one in there, so get out of there, red. We're going to regroup these now. And now, when I put it into fill, we're back to where we were earlier, except this time we have the outside cut going on. Are you following? I hope so. And like I said, it might take you a couple times of watching this. Now, you never work with these in fill mode. Always work in line mode, like so. So now we're going to take this one, and we're going to offset this one, left toolbar again. We're going to offset this one outward, like that. We're going to say OK. And we're going to take and put this one on the cut layer. Now watch what happens when I change this to fill. Nothing. And the reason why is because I only have one line here. Okay? These are not grouped. These are grouped over here. So now we're ready to go. And the only thing that I have to do now is come to the laser. Oh, I have to set my speeds and powers. Oh, gee, can't forget that. You know, I always forget to do that. And I make as many mistakes as you guys do. Trust me. I mean, I just make a lot of mistakes with this, with the lasers. And I always correct them. But you see the mistakes here live. So anyway. So over here we're going to do the two. This is actually 3mm. I labeled this wrong. We're going to do cut. Come over here to cut. I'm going to do cut, and I'm going to assign that, and there we go. It just changed. Did you see that? So we're going to go engrave up here, and you can watch the numbers up here. And I'm going to come over here, open this up, click on engrave, and assign it to that layer. And you saw it just change right there. So now we're ready to come to the laser and hit start. And I do already have this positioned. So all I have to do is hit the start button. So now what I'm going to do is, I'm going to confirm this in a second. What I'm going to do is I'm going to bring the full video of this up before I confirm the start. And this way you can see the whole thing full screen. And I'll record the actual burn and the cut itself. So here we go. Let me bring up the other video first, and then I'm going to confirm this. All right, so here we go on the CO2. So normally people put in, I guess, music here. I'm just going to go ahead and chat with you because I like to. But anyway, you'll see on the left that it is doing the relief engrave, which would be removing the background and leaving the vector graphic proud, standing up. And on the right side, you see it's not doing much at all. It's going to just take out the vector. So the background will be nice and shiny. So I'm not sure which way I want to do this, how I want this to look, and that's why I'm doing it both ways. Not only to, you know, teach you guys, but also to get an idea of which one I would like better for the badge for my laser. So the CO2 gives you a different look than the diode laser does. And the reason why is because the diode has a much finer focal point on it. So the CO2 is going to give you a textured look, a really uniform textured look. And that's one of the nice things about doing acrylic engraving with the CO2. The diode laser is going to give you more of a lines. You're going to see the lines instead of the texture. So I guess it's all a matter of preference, which one you like better. I really don't have a, I guess if I had to say choose one over the other, I would say I would choose the CO2 look because it looks a little more, you know, professional and not homemade, I guess. And also I do the settings slightly different, although they're very similar. This video that you're watching is 16 times sped up. The one on the diode is going to be 64 times sped up to get the same sort of result. So yeah, this does it much faster. But as far as the settings, you know, percentage wise, on the CO2, I do the cut in 2 passes because I don't want to use too much power and melt the edges. So on the diode, you don't have to worry about that. You can do it in 1 pass with the much finer focal point. It'll come out nice and clean. In fact, the cutting on the diode comes out cleaner than the CO2. There's no cleanup whatsoever. So we're almost getting done with the engraving here, and the next step is going to be the cutout. And you may have noticed that I've lost the drag chain. I took it off because it was just a little bit too thick, and there goes the cut. So you get 2 passes right there. So my hose is thick enough where it stands up, so I've got it off for right now. All right, so here we are back in Lightburn, and now we're going to do the diode version. And for this version, I have got the longer RAFFLE 5 in the wood shop. And I don't have a network connection. You can see up here that there's no network cable running to it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring in the Wi-Fi program and just make it a little bit smaller. And this is in a web browser, excuse me. And I've got the file uploaded already. You just click over here to upload a file. And I just saved the G code from Lightburn. And first thing I'm going to do is, it's called logo G code. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to frame it. And we're going to send that. And I can close this. And we're just going to make sure that it's in the right spot, because the first time I went to run the job, it wasn't. So I edited that part out. And that looks pretty good. In fact, that looks perfect. And I'm just doing this to show you that, you know, you can do this on CO2, you can do it on diode, you can basically do it on any laser. It's just a matter of getting your speeds and your power correct. So I'm going to just go ahead and hit the play button down here, and we're going to send that over. And we don't need this window anymore, so I will drag it out of the way. And I've got this one set to engrave at 2080 power and to cut at 90 speed and 100 power. And I'm pretty sure that that's going to do a good job because I've done this on the atom stack, and it did a good job. So I'm more than sure that this is going to do just as well. So now I'm going to speed up this video. I'm going to bring in the full version of the video, and I'll speed it up for you, and we'll go from there. All right, so here we go. 64 times speed on this one. That's going to be a little bit faster than the other one. And you can see it's doing the exact same thing as the CO2 did, because it's the exact same file. Now you see, if you look up close, you can see that I started this in line mode before I figured out, oh my goodness, when I switched from CO2 to diode, well, it changed everything to line mode. So here is the final product. As you can see, it comes right out. Well, one of them came right out. The other one had to be popped out. But there we go. And now we've got 2 of them to compare to each other. We've got CO2 and we've got diode. Look how clean the edges are on the diode. Real clean cut. Unfortunately, you got those lines in there from when I screwed up. But there's some wicking that needs to get done and some cleaning. And I use the dental tool kit that I have. If you don't have one of these, it's great for wicking. Pulls everything right off. And right now I'm just cleaning up the diode version of the cut right here. Excuse me, the CO2 version. The diode version doesn't need much cleaning at all. It comes out pretty good because it's really not vaporizing like the CO2 does. And I'll give you an example of the two of them side by side in just a minute. But basically all I'm doing with the CO2, I always have to use a heavy cleaner. I use alcohol and paper towel. Paper towel gets in there, but I mean, it comes out pretty good. And this had to get cleaned up one more time before it was actually ready to use. And here they are side by side. And you can see the line mode where I started the job, where I screwed up and didn't check to make sure everything was right on the top ones. That's the diode, but just ignore that for now. So now you'll see what I'm talking about. On the bottom right is the CO2, and you can see all that rough texture, and it looks really nice. And on the top right, you'll see is the diode with all the lines going through it. Now here's what it looks like on the laser itself. And I guess it's just a preference, you know, which one do you like better? Do you like the really textured one or the other one? All right, so there we go, all finished. We got the logo done. We have two different versions of it. I'm probably not going to use either one, but you know, I'm probably going to do it at a clear acrylic, and I'll inlay some black around the outside, and I'll inlay the actual graphic itself, so that I have like a you know, a much nicer looking design for the logo. But you know, the purpose of this video was to teach you how to make it yourself, and I hope you learned how easy it is to make a professional vector graphic from a raster, and even worse, from a bad raster that's completely pixelized. And in case you don't know, raster is just a TV term, just basically means pixels, and vector means lines with points. So it's a line with points on the line. So that's the difference between the two. And we work with vectors. Lasers work best with vector graphics. But you know, sometimes you're going to want to do images. You're going to want to engrave photos and things like that. And that's okay, because you know, our eye doesn't really see, you know, the pixelation that well. But the laser does, especially when it comes to cutting. If you want really sharp edges, like on the letters and on the outside, well, you want that laser beam to be as sharp as possible. And the diode is going to cut the acrylic a lot better than the CO2 with a much smoother, cleaner edge, only because the diode laser has a much finer focal point on it. But you know, it's 6 of one, half dozen of the other. You can't really see the difference with the naked eye. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope you learned something new today. And that's my goal with making all of these videos, is teaching you something new and learning something new myself, because a lot of the time I learn as I go when I make these videos. So, you know, that's another reason why I make the videos. I learn as I go. And I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you learned something today. And a lot of people have been asking why my version is different than theirs. I have version 1.1 and they don't have it and they can't get it. And that's because I'm a beta tester for Lightburn software. So I do have the latest version. I didn't use any of the new features, which are incredible, coming out in version 1.1. I mean, there's some really neat stuff that I'm going to be doing a few videos on that you're going to love in this new version. And Jason and the staff over there at Lightburn are really working hard to make this. Well, it already is the best software there is for laser cutters. There's no question about that. But they're working really hard to make this even better with every new version that comes out. And they're doing a fantastic job. And some of the new version updates that you see, you may not, you know, see the new features in them. But trust me, version 1.1 you're going to love, because it's got a lot of new features that people have been asking for. So without giving too much away, you know, one of them is nesting. I'm not sure if you're familiar with that, but you will be in one of my videos coming up. Another one is the line drawing. There are some cool new features in drawing the line that you may have seen a little bit of in this video, but I made sure I didn't show you what it was. So I didn't want to let the cat out of the bag. But anyhow, I hope you enjoyed the video. And as always, I thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.